This is 5 on your side at 10. I'm Mike Bush. Tonight, a woman is behind bars charged in the murders of the former Berkeley fire chief and his teenage daughter. 5 on your side's Melanie Johnson is just back from talking to those grieving the victims and friends of their alleged killer.
We might have just been basketball family, but, it's a lot of people affected by this.
A 61-year-old woman shot her boyfriend in the back of the head and daughter in the forehead because she thought he was a narcissist. Then she locked herself in a bedroom and told police she guessed she was the villain in the story. The proof? Her own statement to officers where she admitted she killed them, plus a .38 caliber revolver found in the bedroom with 2 spent casings still in the chamber. Henry Williams, a retired fire chief who spent decades saving lives, was found dead in his kitchen just 40 minutes after talking to relatives. His daughter, Ha'layna Elliott, a 15-year-old sophomore basketball star, was found shot in her bedroom, where she should have been safe. Linda Hayden, Williams' 61-year-old girlfriend who lived with them, was discovered locked in the master bedroom with the murder weapon. How does living together as a family turn into execution-style murders and a woman calling herself the villain? This is the Henry Williams and Ha'layna Elliott case. Subscribe to Crime Shadows to find out how a domestic situation becomes a double homicide that destroys an entire community. Henry Williams was a man who dedicated his life to saving others. He served as the fire chief and city manager in Berkeley, Missouri, where he spent decades running toward danger while everyone else ran away. According to his colleagues at Boeing's St. Louis Fire Department, where he worked after retiring from Berkeley about 12 years ago, Williams came to work every single day with nothing but a smile. Sean Sims, a former colleague who worked security, said he looked at Henry's face for 3.5 years every other morning and always saw that same smile. Williams wasn't just a firefighter. He was a mentor, a volunteer coach, and what the community called a girl dad who poured everything into his daughter's future. After retirement, he could have relaxed, but instead he chose to volunteer his time coaching his daughter's basketball team and mentoring other young players who saw him as a father figure. Ha'layna Elliott was 15 years old and everything her father hoped she would be. She was a sophomore at Pattonville High School and a standout player on the junior varsity basketball team. According to her teammate J.L. Williams, who played with Ha'layna since 6th grade, every time Ha'layna shot the ball, everyone watched because it went in every time. Her former AAU coach, Romkia Verges, described her as super happy and goofy, the kind of kid who made TikToks at gas stations and brought life and energy wherever she went. Ha'layna wore number 12 on her uniform, and her favorite color was purple. She wasn't just talented at basketball. She had presence, according to her teachers and coaches. Sean Tate, her track coach and teacher at Pattonville, said she was an amazing kid with a determined spirit who displayed positive energy. Ha'layna's dreams included playing college basketball, and her father was right there beside her, teaching her and her teammates everything he knew about the game. The Williams family lived together in a home in the 500 block of North Clay Avenue in Ferguson, Missouri. Henry and Ha'layna shared the house with Linda Hayden, Henry's girlfriend of an undisclosed length of time. On Saturday, February 21st, 2026, at approximately 5:30 p.m., Henry spoke with relatives and made plans for them to visit the house. It was a routine conversation, family coming over, nothing unusual. Ha'layna was home. Henry was home. Everything seemed normal, but in less than an hour, both of them would be dead, and Linda Hayden would transform from girlfriend into accused killer. Would Ha'layna ever make it to college basketball? Did Henry know that the woman living in his home was capable of this? How does a family conversation at 5:30 turn into a crime scene by 6:11? Linda Hayden was 61 years old and living in the Ferguson home with Henry Williams and his daughter Ha'layna. According to court documents, she and Williams were in a relationship, though the exact duration isn't clear from records. Hayden's friends and family insist she's not the monster the charges suggest. Her best friend Cheryl Fouts told reporters she knows Linda is not the kind of person who would just kill 2 people, calling the situation very shocking and heartbreaking. Hayden's own family members said they know she's no monster, that they love her from their hearts, and they're praying for God to work through her. But on February 21st, something inside that house went catastrophically wrong. According to investigators, Williams and Hayden lived together as a couple with Ha'layna. There's no public record of prior domestic violence calls to the address, no restraining orders, no documented history of violence between them. To the outside world, they were just another blended family. On that Saturday evening, relatives made plans to visit Henry. Less than 40 minutes after that phone call, those same relatives would walk into a nightmare. The question investigators would have to answer: what happened in that 40-minute window? But the evidence tells a different story, one of calculated violence in a home that should have been safe. Ferguson police would soon discover exactly what Linda Hayden was capable of when cornered. At approximately 6:11 p.m. on Saturday, February 21st, relatives arrived at the Williams home in the 500 block of North Clay Avenue in Ferguson. They'd spoken to Henry at 5:30 and made plans to come over. 41 minutes. That's all the time that passed between the phone call and their arrival. When they walked into the house, they found Henry Williams in the kitchen. He had a gunshot wound to the back of his head. Execution style. He likely never saw it coming. The relatives moved through the house, and in Ha'layna's bedroom, they found her. The 15-year-old had a gunshot wound to her forehead. She was in her own bedroom, her safe space, the room covered with basketball dreams and teenage memories. Someone had walked in there and shot her in the face. The relatives immediately called 911. It was 6:15 p.m. when Ferguson police and emergency medical crews responded to what was initially called a medical emergency. When officers arrived and began securing the scene, they tried to figure out if there was a shooter still in the house. They cleared room by room until they reached the master bedroom. The door was locked from the inside. Police ordered whoever was inside to come out. Eventually, they gained entry. Inside that locked bedroom was Linda Hayden. She was the only other person in the house. And in the master bathroom, officers found a .38 caliber revolver. When they examined it, the cylinder contained 3 live rounds and 2 spent casings. 2 bullets fired, 2 people dead. According to court documents, when officers took Hayden into custody, she made what prosecutors describe as a spontaneous statement. She told police, "I guess I'm the villain in the story." Then she added that Henry Williams was a bad man and a narcissist. That was her explanation. Not self-defense, not an accident, just that she was the villain and he was a narcissist. But here's what doesn't add up. If you're in fear for your life, you don't shoot someone in the back of the head. Henry was found in the kitchen, shot from behind. That's not self-defense. That's an ambush. And Ha'layna, a 15-year-old girl in her bedroom, shot in the forehead. What threat did she pose? Why would Hayden kill the daughter if this was about Henry being a narcissist?
Still trying to identify the female.
Made 30 seconds last long, and he always complimented me on my smile. That's a good guy, and I'm gonna miss him. Just another hero, lost. I don't know the background on it, but nothing's worth that.
Being a girl dad, man, it's tough.
Every time she shot the ball, we all watched, and it went in. Every time she went up to the court, we knew that she was going to make it, and we just get out the way. She barely missed.
Despite life-saving measures from paramedics, both Henry and Ha'layna were pronounced dead at the scene. The medical examiner would later confirm what investigators already knew. Both victims died from gunshot wounds to the head. Henry's wound was to the back of the skull. Ha'layna's was to the forehead. 2 different angles. 2 different locations in the house. This wasn't a crime of passion where someone loses control. This was methodical. While Henry Williams lay dead in his kitchen and Ha'layna lay dead in her bedroom, Linda Hayden had locked herself in the master bedroom with the gun. Why lock the door? Was she planning to harm herself? Was she waiting for police? The relatives who found the bodies said Hayden didn't try to escape, didn't try to run. She just stayed in that locked room until officers forced their way in. When Ferguson police arrived at 6:15 p.m., they had no idea what they were walking into. The call came in as a medical emergency, but the moment they saw Henry and Ha'layna, they knew this was a homicide scene. Officers called for detectives and began processing the house. They found no signs of forced entry, no evidence of a struggle in the common areas, no indication that anyone else had been in the home. Just 3 people, Henry, Ha'layna, and Linda Hayden. And now 2 of them were dead. What was going through Linda Hayden's mind when she pulled that trigger twice? Did Ha'layna beg for her life? Did she try to run? Why would someone who called herself the villain act surprised at that label? If you were a first responder walking into that scene, knowing a 15-year-old girl was shot in her own bedroom, what would you have done? Let us know in the comments. Police immediately recognized this wasn't a murder-suicide. This wasn't a break-in gone wrong. This was domestic violence taken to its deadliest extreme. Ferguson Police Department began their investigation by securing the home and taking Linda Hayden into custody for questioning. She was the only living person in that house. She had the gun. She had motive, according to her own words about Henry being a bad man. Detectives transported Hayden to the Ferguson Police Department for interrogation. According to the probable cause statement filed in court, Hayden made that spontaneous statement about being the villain and Henry being a narcissist. But did she explain why she killed Ha'layna? Did she offer any justification for shooting a 15-year-old girl? Court documents don't reveal a full confession or detailed statement from Hayden about what led to the shootings, but they don't need to. The physical evidence tells the story prosecutors need. The .38 caliber revolver recovered from the master bathroom became the key piece of evidence. Forensic analysis would determine if the bullets that killed Henry and Ha'layna came from that specific weapon. The 2 spent casings in the chamber matched the 2 deceased victims. 3 live rounds remained. Hayden had stopped after 2 shots. Was that because she only intended to kill 2 people? Or did something stop her from continuing? Inside the home, detectives documented the scene. Henry's body position in the kitchen, Ha'layna's body in her bedroom, the locked master bedroom, the gun's location, blood spatter patterns, shell casings, if any were ejected. Every detail mattered because Linda Hayden wasn't confessing to the specifics. She was just accepting her role as the villain. Ferguson police chief or spokesperson stated that officers believed the incident was domestic violence related. The probable cause statement filed by investigators emphasized the execution-style nature of the killings. I believe that the defendant poses a danger to the community or to any other person because the defendant shot 2 individuals in the head, the statement read. This wasn't a crime of passion where someone lost control in a heated argument. This was targeted, intentional, deadly. The investigation revealed that relatives had spoken to Henry Williams at 5:30 p.m. about coming to visit. By 6:11 p.m., when those relatives arrived, both Henry and Ha'layna were already dead. That means the murders happened in a 41-minute window. Did Hayden kill them both immediately after the phone call ended? Did she wait? Did Ha'layna hear her father being shot in the kitchen and try to hide in her bedroom? The timeline suggests the killings happened quickly and efficiently. One question haunted investigators. Why Ha'layna? If Hayden's issue was with Henry, if she truly believed he was a bad man and a narcissist, why did she execute his teenage daughter? Ha'layna wasn't Hayden's biological child. She posed no physical threat. She was simply in the wrong house at the wrong time, living with a father she loved and a woman who would ultimately take everything from her. Detectives also interviewed the relatives who found the bodies. What did they see when they walked in? Did they hear anything? Was the master bedroom door already locked? Or did Hayden lock it after they arrived? These details would matter in understanding Hayden's state of mind and whether she showed any remorse or tried to help the victims. By Sunday, February 22nd, the St. Louis County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the identities of both victims and the causes of death. Henry Williams, retired Berkeley fire chief. Ha'layna Elliott, 15-year-old student-athlete. Both dead from gunshot wounds to the head. The autopsies revealed no defensive wounds on Henry. He likely never saw it coming when he was shot from behind. Ha'layna's injuries showed she was shot from the front. She may have seen Linda Hayden standing in her doorway with that gun pointed at her face. How do you explain away a locked bedroom with you inside and a gun with 2 spent casings? How do you explain 2 people shot in the head while you're the only other person in the house? What made Linda Hayden think killing Ha'layna was necessary? On Monday, February 23rd, Linda Hayden appeared in court for her initial appearance on charges of 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of armed criminal action. She stood before a judge wearing jail clothing. Her life completely changed from just 2 days earlier. The judge reviewed the charges and the evidence against her. Prosecutors laid out the case. 2 victims shot in the head, the defendant found locked in a bedroom with the murder weapon, her own statement admitting she was the villain. The judge set Hayden's bond at $2 million cash only, no 10%. That means Hayden would need the full $2 million in cash to be released while awaiting trial, an amount that essentially guarantees she stays in custody. Prosecutors argued that Hayden posed a danger to the community because she shot 2 individuals in the head, and the judge agreed. Linda Hayden was remanded to the St. Louis County Justice Center, where she remains as of this reporting. Hayden's public defender, if she has one, would face an impossible task. How do you defend someone caught locked in a room with the murder weapon? How do you explain away her own words calling herself the villain? The defense might try to paint Henry Williams as abusive, using Hayden's statement about him being a narcissist as evidence of a toxic relationship. But even if that were true, even if Henry Williams was everything Hayden claimed, how does that justify killing his 15-year-old daughter? During the court appearance, prosecutors noted that a preliminary hearing was scheduled for March 26, 2026. Additionally, a bond reduction hearing was set for March 2, 2026, giving Hayden's defense team a chance to argue for a lower bond amount. But given the severity of the charges and the execution-style nature of the killings, any bond reduction seems unlikely. Ferguson Police Department released a statement saying that any additional updates would be released in coordination with the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office as the case moves through the court system. The investigation technically remains open as prosecutors build their case for trial, though the core facts seem clear. Linda Hayden is the only suspect. No one else is being sought. The murder weapon has been recovered. The case appears to be what investigators call a slam dunk. Boeing, where Henry Williams worked as a firefighter after his retirement from Berkeley, released a statement saying, "We honor his service and contributions to our company and to our community. Our heartfelt condolences go out to everyone affected by this tragedy." The Boeing Firefighters Union wrote on Facebook, "Our hearts ache during this difficult moment. For a man who spent his entire career protecting others, Henry Williams couldn't protect himself or his daughter in his own home. Does Linda Hayden deserve any consideration for a bond reduction? How do you defend someone who admitted they're the villain? What sentence brings justice for a 15-year-old girl shot in her own bedroom? Do you think Hayden deserves life in prison or the death penalty? Drop your thoughts below. While Linda Hayden sits in the St. Louis County Justice Center on $2 million bond, the communities of Ferguson, Berkeley, and Pattonville are trying to process an unimaginable loss. Hayden faces 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of armed criminal action. If convicted, she faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Missouri does have the death penalty, though prosecutors have not yet indicated whether they will seek it in this case. Her next court appearance is the bond reduction hearing on March 2, 2026, followed by the preliminary hearing on March 26. The murder weapon, The .38 caliber revolver that took 2 lives has been recovered and is being held as evidence. Prosecutors will use it to link Hayden definitively to both killings through ballistics testing. On Tuesday, February 24th, Pattonville High School held its scheduled girls' basketball game, but it became a memorial rather than just a competition. The gymnasium, normally filled with the school's green colors, was instead decorated with purple, Ha'layna's favorite color. Purple balloons, purple t-shirts, purple sweatshirts, and other tributes filled the space. The junior varsity team, Ha'layna's team, didn't play that night. The heartache was too fresh. Instead, the junior varsity players were invited to join the varsity squad for the game. Before tip-off, there was 12 seconds of silence, 1 second for each number on Ha'layna's jersey. She wore number 12 with pride, and now that number will forever represent her memory. After the game, the opposing team from Hazelwood West joined Pattonville's team to honor Ha'layna's memory, showing that sports transcend rivalry when tragedy strikes. Ariana Furrow, one of Ha'layna's closest friends, stood courtside in tears as the moment of silence was held. She told reporters that she and her classmates are trying to take it as a celebration of Ha'layna's life, rather than just mourning, celebrating the life she lived and the life she will continue to have up above. Students and teammates signed posters and a basketball for Ha'layna's family, filling them with messages of encouragement and love. Sean Tate, Ha'layna's teacher and track coach, said they're really hurting. He described Ha'layna as an amazing kid who brought so much life, energy, and laughter. That's what he'll remember about her. Principal Tisha Ashford said Ha'layna was a big part of the Pattonville family, with a determined spirit and positive energy. The school made counselors available all week for students struggling with the loss of their classmate and for staff members processing the tragedy. Henry Williams was remembered just as fondly. Willie Williams, no relation to Henry, but someone who looked to him as a father figure, said Coach Henry was not just an amazing coach, but an amazing father and an amazing person. He emphasized that Henry was retired and everything he did was volunteer, coaching, mentoring, teaching kids how to shoot basketballs and how to be better people. Willie Williams said it's tough being a girl dad, and watching Henry excel at it made the loss even more painful. He told reporters, "Just another hero lost." Sean Sims, Henry's colleague at Boeing, said Henry greeted him with a smile every single morning for 3.5 years. He would tell Sean, "Henry and I always made 30 seconds last long, and he always complimented me on my smile." Sims added, "That's a good guy, and I'm going to miss him. I don't know the background of it, but nothing is worth that." The Pattonville School District released a statement saying, "In moments like this, it is difficult to find words that adequately reflect the sorrow we feel. The loss of a student deeply affects our entire school community." The district made grief counselors available and encouraged students to remember the fun times with Ha'layna and to move forward in her spirit. Linda Hayden's family and friends have also spoken out, expressing shock and disbelief. Cheryl Fouts, identified as Hayden's best friend, told reporters, "We know that she is not this kind of person who would just kill 2 people. It's very shocking. It's very heartbreaking to many of us." Hayden's family members said they know she's no monster, that they love her from their hearts, and they're praying for God to work through her as she sits in jail. But for Henry Williams' family and friends, those statements ring hollow. Henry saved lives for decades. Ha'layna had her whole life ahead of her, and Linda Hayden took both of them away in less than an hour. What we still don't know is the full motive. Yes, Hayden called Henry a narcissist and a bad man. But does that explain 2 execution-style murders? Does it explain shooting a 15-year-old girl in the forehead? Does it explain locking herself in a bedroom and waiting for police rather than trying to escape or harm herself? Psychologists may eventually weigh in on what drives a 61-year-old woman with no known history of violence to commit such an atrocity. But for the families left behind, no explanation will ever be enough. No psychiatric evaluation will bring Henry and Ha'layna back. This case also exposes larger questions about domestic violence and warning signs. According to public records, there were no documented domestic violence calls to the residents, no restraining orders, no public red flags that something was deeply wrong in that household. Could this have been prevented if there were better systems to identify toxic relationships before they turn deadly? Should there have been signs that someone saw and ignored? The relatives who found Henry and Ha'layna dead will carry that trauma forever, walking into a home expecting a family visit, and instead finding two people you love murdered. That's a horror that never fades. The first responders who arrived at 6:15 p.m. and had to process a scene with a retired fire chief and a teenage girl both shot in the head, they'll carry that too. No life sentence brings Henry Williams back. No verdict resurrects Ha'layna Elliott or gives her the chance to play college basketball. But this case reveals a disturbing truth about how quickly domestic situations can escalate to unthinkable violence, and how two lives can be stolen in the time it takes to make a phone call and drive across town. Could this have been stopped if someone had seen warning signs in Linda Hayden's behavior? What does justice even look like when a 15-year-old girl is murdered in her own bedroom? Subscribe to Crime Shadows for cases that show how ordinary homes can become crime scenes in minutes. The Henry Williams and Ha'layna Elliott case is a story of a hero fire chief and his talented daughter destroyed by the woman who lived in their home. It's a reminder that domestic violence doesn't always announce itself with visible bruises and restraining orders. Sometimes it hides behind closed doors until it explodes with deadly force. Henry was coaching basketball. Ha'layna was shooting hoops and making TikToks with her teammates. And they're gone because Linda Hayden decided to call herself the villain and make it true. How do you forgive someone who executes a 15-year-old girl in her own bedroom?
We know that she is not this kind of person that would just kill two people, and it just don't make sense to us. It's very shocking. It's very heartbreaking to many of us.
Next time, we're covering another case that'll show you how fast trust turns fatal. A story that starts with a relationship and ends with a body no one expected to find. Subscribe to Crime Shadows because we're dropping the cases that just happened, the ones where the wounds are still fresh and the questions are still unanswered. This is Crime Shadows, where real horror happens in homes just like yours.